Welcome to So Very Easy. My name is Laura, and I definitely have a problem. And I've been told other people have the same problem as me, and it's called not wanting to get rid of our scraps. After all, we just never know when we are going to need that piece. Well, I have a project that we can use some scraps from our scrap bins, or we can use some jelly roll pieces, large or small. One of my favorite things to do with my scraps is to make scrappy quilts. Even though I have lots of different sizes and different shapes, I still can cut them to make quilts. And there is one block that I am particularly fond of making out of scraps. And it's the pineapple block. What I like about the pineapple block, it's usually done on a foundation, which means there's either a paper or fabric along the back. And the back foundation holds the fabric so that it doesn't stretch, and it can be an odd shape. So if we have something that's off grain, the foundation is going to help stabilize that so it doesn't stretch and be out of control as we are stitching. Another thing about the foundation that I like, it gives me my sewing line so I can start with scraps. A lot of times I will do my scrappy blocks right as I finished a project and use up whatever scraps I can. I will start with a big block, and this one is a 12.5 inch, so it will be a finished 12 inch. Then do a smaller one. What's left over from here, a lot of times I can do one more. And this 6-inch block means that after I have enough, I can put 4 blocks together so I can have a large block and some small blocks. The pattern starts off with the center square, and then it goes dark, light, all the way as you go along. However, sometimes I do switch it up. I start with my lights and go dark. Because I'm using up my scraps, I'm not worried about it. If I don't have enough when I finish a project, I can pull from my scrap bin and find other colors that are going to match it. And that center block, sometimes I just need to piece it, or I will have a piece that I can use. This block was made from some leftover jelly rolls, so I have that 2.5 inch strip already cut for me. But I needed a bigger center, so I've put 4 together. I did this one first, and then I was able to have the leftovers and make the smaller one. This was also done with 2.5 inch strips. So the center block has had to been pieced. Even though it's all white, I did piece it. Did this first, ended up with leftovers. I did finish a project that had lemons, and I didn't have that much to do a large one, so I've done a smaller one and have pulled in some fabric from other projects that were in my scrap bin to finish the block. A foundation pattern can be done with paper or with fabric. I do like it on paper. I'll put a link in the description so you can print out this one if you want to give this technique a try. This is going to be a finished 7-inch square. We start with the centerpiece and we add our pieces going out. If you do want to print this out and use this as a pattern, I would recommend printing it on paper that is a little bit softer. You can buy paper for this actual project or just find a lighter weight paper. The reason we want the lighter paper is because we do want to take that paper off once all of the block is stitched together. I did want to use up a lot of scraps, so I wanted to start with a very big block, and this is a 12-inch finish, so it starts at 12.5 inches. And to get this on my own paper, I would have to piece a lot of pages together. So I was able to find some foundation paper that's already been printed for me. And there's 40 pages in this pad of paper. And the paper is a lot thinner than regular printer paper. So I was able to get my 12-inch squares and my 6-inch squares already pre-printed for me. So it's just going to save me some time on having to print them out. But the technique is all the same. That pad of paper does have the directions up at the top and the recommended cutting sizes. But I just want to use scraps, so I'm not necessarily going to use the sizes they recommend. This foundation paper piecing is definitely a technique on its own because we are stitching right on the paper. The side that is printed is actually the back side. The clear side is where we put the fabric on. And there's a lot of different tools that we can use to speed up the process and make it enjoyable. I will give you an example of things that you can use that you have, and then example of things that you could buy so you have an idea on how we can do this. But let's start by making this piece, and we'll go through the tools and techniques as we go along. The first thing we need to do is have a piece of fabric that is going to cover this center square. Sometimes I'm able to find pieced blocks, and other times I'm going to be able to find a fabric that I can fussy cut. The first piece of fabric we need to lay down is a piece of fabric that's going to fill that center square, plus some on the outside. We're going to place that fabric onto that clean side of the paper. And this is where a window or a light can come in handy. I'm going to be using a light box, so you're going to be able to see what I'm doing from underneath. From the back side, you can see the position of that first block. And I want to take my scrap of fabric and have it fit underneath. So depending on the surface you're using, you can place it this way or hold it up to the window. And I'll pretend we're holding it up to the window. So I'm going to show you from the back side where the numbering and the pieces are. So I'm going to place my fabric right side down. So this is the wrong side. And I want to center this little teapot in the center of that block. So I'm just going to be able to move that fabric until I get that little fussy cut inside that square. And the easiest way is to glue it. And it's as simple as finding some child's washable glue sticks. And there's two different kinds that you can get. And I'm not talking about the name. One glue stick has this purple glue inside. I personally find this doesn't stick as well as just the good old-fashioned white glue sticks. And I've just picked these up at the dollar store. We just need to make sure it does say washable. Now I can put a little bit of glue on the fabric, or I can put some glue right on top of that paper and place that fabric right on that paper, so you're going to glue the fabric on the paper. So now when you turn it over, I have the right side facing up. I get to trim this piece down to the proper size. And I'm going to fold it along the first lines and make a seam allowance. And I'm going to be able to do that right from the printed side. To fold the paper back, we can use a piece of cardstock, and we're going to put that piece right along our first line. And that paper will help us fold it right on that line that we want. And fold that paper over. From here, we need to trim a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So we can take a ruler, and from that paper side over, put the ruler down and cut that fabric off. I now have that 1/4 inch seam allowance right from that stitching line. I need to fold and trim all 4 of those seams. In dressmaking, we do have this hem guide. It's a thin piece of metal, and this is what I like using. It's something that I already have in my sewing room, but the cardstock will work just as well. From here, I need to continue and fold this paper on that line. We can use a ruler, or you can get special rulers to do this, and they're called add a quarter. You could get all different sizes. My favorite size is the largest one because it is 2.5 inches, so I can use it for other things. Along the back, you'll find a little lip of a 1/4 inch. So I will be able to take that ruler and just slide it against the ruler, and it's going to stay in that 1/4 inch mark, and trim off your edge. I'm going to be able to go all the way around my number 1 block, trimming off a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Once I've cut off all of those edges, when I turn it over, I have a perfect square along the back. So it didn't matter the size that I started with, I end up with that nice square. And that glue just helped it stick on, so I didn't have to worry about it shifting. Once that centerpiece is on, we need to do the 4 pieces around the edge. Now the paper is usually numbered, and that way we know which order to go into. So I need 2 and 3, 4 and 5, and that number is my stitching order. The first block is done. Now I'm going to do row 2 and row 3. So I need a scrap of fabric bigger than those numbers. And I do have some triangle pieces that were in my scrap bin. And to make sure that scrap is big enough, it needs to have a 1/4 inch all the way around. So this will be just perfect. It's not too big. It's better to have it too big than too small. So I'm going to start with my number 2. Turn the paper over, place that piece of fabric on. So I can just pin this fabric on. I personally like the pins that have that flat flower on them. If you want to check the placement, you can pin where your 1/4 inch seam is going to be and then flip that fabric over to make sure that you have that 1/4 inch all the way around. When you have pieces this close in size, it's a good thing to do. When pinning this fabric on, I want to make sure that my pins are far from my 1/4 inch seam allowance because I do not want to take out these pins until after I stitched. So when I turn this over, my pins are right in the center. So my stitching line is this number 2 line and this number 3 line. So my pins are definitely out of the way. I will not have to remove them. From here, I can stitch this right on the machine, and I go right through the paper and the 2 layers of fabric. I would recommend putting your machine at a very small stitch. If you normally use 2.5, I would recommend a 2. Nice and small. And that way it's going to make it easier to take this paper off. When we stitch, we're going to stitch a little bit past that line, stitch all the way along number 2 and come off the line. I'm going to do that to the number 2 line and the same for the number 3 line. So I've started off of the line and have stitched right through. Both seams have been done and the pins are still in that paper. Now when I flip it over, I'm going to be able to take those pins out. And they were out of the way, so I didn't have to worry about them getting under my machine. From here, we need to press this fabric out. We were always going to be pressing the seams out. To press this, use a dry iron, no steam because the paper doesn't like steam. Once those are pressed over, it's always a good idea to check to make sure that we did leave ourselves a seam allowance past those stitching lines. When we know those 2 pieces are right, we get to add on the other 2. So I could just use that straight edge and match up my fabric along that edge. And pin so that pin is going to be out of the way of the seam allowance. My 1/4 inch seam allowance is along here, so my pin is definitely out of the way. And I do like to do 2 sides at a time. I get to bring this to the machine and stitch side 4 and side 5. I'm going to start off that line, stitch all the way down, coming right off that line. So I'm going to cross over the 2 ends of my previous stitching. Once those 2 pieces have been stitched on, I can remove the pins. Check and make sure that I have enough fabric and press coming out. From here we need to trim a 1/4 inch seam allowance just like the first block. We need to fold the paper back on the new stitching line and then trim that 1/4 inch seam allowance, and do this to all 4 stitching lines. With all that trimming done, I can see I have a 1/4 inch outside of my next stitching lines. And when I turn it over, I have the square in the square. I need to find pieces for my next numbers, 6, 7, 8, and 9. I was able to find some scraps in some white. If you're not sure that your scraps are the right size, they do have the recommended size. I'm going to separate my whites from my scraps, cut and make sure that I have 4 pieces, and I will give them a bit of a press. From here, I can put my pieces on. The only thing I would recommend is to make sure we have an edge that's sort of straight. It doesn't have to be exact, and that's what's fun about this. I need to put on 6, 7, 8, and 9. Place right sides of the fabric together and pin that fabric down and stitch 6 and 7. 6 and 7 is stitched. Take out my pins, and having those flat pins means it lays flat on the sewing machine as you're stitching. Now I can press this back and we can see how much fabric we're going to need to trim off, but I'm going to trim them off after. Press those seams out. Now I get to add on my 2 other edges, and I'm going to do my 2 new stitching lines. Once those 4 pieces have been stitched on and pressed back, I can trim off the seam allowances. All of the stitching and trimming is going to be done from the printed side of the fabric, and we always need to trim off the last stitch that we did. I'm going to pull back that paper off those seam corners, and that way I'm going to be able to trim an accurate 1/4 inch seam allowance. Use your cardstock or the metal guide. Make sure you have something for that 1/4 inch seam allowance and trim. And I'm going to continue working around, folding back and trimming. Once all these ends have been trimmed, all that messy look does turn into a nice, clean looking block. And I'm going to be able to continue putting my scraps around the edges, stitching, trimming, and continuing. I love seeing what these scraps are going to look like when they're trimmed down. When that very last row is put on, I do like to glue my fabric onto this little corner. This is just going to keep it stable for me when I do my last trimming. Once those are all secured, I'm going to be able to do my final trimming. There are 2 lines along the back. That first inside line will be the finished square. And in this case, it's a finished 6-inch square, which means I will need to trim on that very outside line. That will give me a 6.5-inch square. And on this particular pattern, it does say, do not trim on this line and trim on this line. Because I happen to have this ruler handy, I will use it. And I'm just going to use the flat side, not that little 1/4 inch side. Lay it right along that edge and trim. And do that all the way around. When this is all trimmed, I know that all of my inside seams do equal that 1/4 inch that we love, and the block is a finished 6-inch block. None of these fabrics were from the same project, but they look fun together. The larger 12.5-inch block works great for 2.5-inch strips. So if you have a lot of jelly roll scraps, this is a great one to use. The centerpiece starts off with a 5-inch square, but if you don't have a 5-inch, you can always make one up. After all, we are trying to use up our scraps. There are a lot of different projects that we can use these squares with, regardless if we do the finished 6-inch square, the finished 12-inch square, or if you want to print out and use the 7-inch square. I am going to be making a whole pile of these using up my scrap basket and my scraps as I'm finished my projects. And to keep them nice and flat, I'm going to store them in a pizza box. I can keep all of my supplies handy so that when I do need them, I know exactly where they're at. So regardless if they're big blocks or small blocks, we can put 4 blocks to make 1 block, use these separate, make a quilt, make table runners, make placemats, bags. It's a way of using up our scraps. And that paper on the back is going to hold it all stable until we get to make our project. I do hope you enjoy this project, and thank you for joining me today on Sew Very Easy. Feel free to subscribe, and as always, come on back. Let's see what we're sewing next time in the sewing room. Bye for now.